In Texas, an e-cigarette is being blamed for the death of a seemingly healthy 24-year-old man. According to the medical examiner, William Brown suffered from a stroke caused by a severed artery from a vaporizer pen when it exploded. His family says doctors knew that he had a piece of e-cigarette lodged in his throat and put him in a medically induced coma, and then he later died. So meanwhile, in Florida last year, e-cigarettes were blamed for the death of 38-year-old Delia. An exploding vape pen hurled fragments into the Florida man's head and started a fire that burned most of his body. His father, Delia, is joining us now via Skype. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, we've done all these stories about the dangers of vaping, but not these dangers. Usually it has to do with what you're inhaling. Tell us about what happened with your son.
Yeah, it's not well appreciated by a lot of people, but essentially you're putting a stick of dynamite in your mouth with a plastic cap on it. This is a very ignitable liquid, and the battery is a powerful battery that can set that liquid off. And in the case of our son, that's exactly what happened. He apparently was using it, and the battery exploded, and the mouthpiece and the stem of the thing was impelled into his brain, and he died instantly from that. The fire was subsequently started, and that's where the body burns came from. So he was not burned to death. He was actually killed by the explosion of the vape pen.
That's unbelievable. You know, it's so small. It's difficult to even imagine that much damage can be done. And I think that's probably part of the issue with the public's perception of these little sort of gadgets. What would you like to see done about e-cigarettes?
Well, let me just correct you a little bit. He was using what was called a vape mod.
Right.
And it's not as small. It's a component thing that has a fairly large battery, and the rest of it is about what you're associating with an e-cigarette.
Yeah, actually, Chris, can we talk about the difference? Because you're right that we're seeing these explosions in this vape mod versus sort of the cigarette-looking devices. What's the difference between the two?
Well, one is an intrinsic e-cigarette where the whole thing is put together by the manufacturer. And the batteries, I gather the batteries are interchangeable, but they're internal batteries. The vape mod is something that apparently you attach the pipe to the battery, which is a separate battery. I guess the reason they like those is because they have bigger charge and they last longer. I'm not really an expert at all on this, but yeah. All I know is that the results in our case were not very good ones.
So what do you want to see happen? Should these things be unavailable, off the market?
I think there's a strong case to think about that. Certainly the vape mods are of great concern. And I'm not an expert in this, but there's something needs to be done here to get these things under control. And this doesn't even begin to address the health effects of inhaling whatever is in that pipe. Yeah. I'm told that kids in middle school are using these things. So there's something awry here, and we need to do something about regulating these devices. Yeah, now, I can't tell you the amount of suffering we've had in the last year. My heart goes out to the Brown family in Texas for what they're going through. It's not only do you have your loss, but in this case, it's such a public loss that everybody knows about it. I'm a scientist. I had calls from around the world, literally, where people had seen the story covered on their news channels in their own countries. So it's not. I wouldn't say it's rubbing salt into one's wounds, but it certainly is a repeated reminder of the loss.
Of course.
The positive side is that I'm fortunate to have many wonderful colleagues and friends to be supportive.
And, it's probably not going to seem very positive right now, but it's giving you a platform. You're here talking with us about this. I'm sure if your son knew the risks, he probably would not have used any of these devices. And so you're able to at least warn other people. Have you received any feedback from the industry at all?
Nothing. I don't think they want to get too close to me, to be honest, for reasons I'm not going to discuss. But I think I do think the government has a role here. I'm told the FDA is interested in the health effects, and ATF is interested in the other aspects of it. So I'm hoping that this latest event is one of those focusing events that causes much more attention to occur.
All right, Chris, thank you so much, and my condolences.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.